ABBA's success story is often told as glittering stages, unforgettable hits, and worldwide fame. But behind the music, Björn Ulvaeus endured a personal life filled with heartbreak. His marriage to fellow ABBA star Agnetha Faltskog was far from the fairy tale the public imagined. Now, years later, Björn finally opens up about the nightmares that haunted their marriage, revealing a side of ABBA that fans rarely saw. Björn Ulvaeus and Agnetha Fältskog met at the height of their careers in the early 1970s, two rising stars in Sweden's burgeoning pop scene. On paper, it seemed like the perfect match. Both were talented, ambitious, and destined for international fame. Fans adored the chemistry between them on stage, interpreting their duets and smiles as evidence of deep, genuine love. Behind the curtain, however, the story was far more complicated. Their marriage began under immense pressure. ABBA's rise was meteoric, and the demands of recording, touring, and media appearances left little room for privacy. Björn has admitted that while he loved Agnetha deeply, the constant attention and scrutiny created tension that neither of them was fully prepared to handle. The honeymoon period, often romanticized in pop culture, was overshadowed by the relentless machinery of fame. Communication, a cornerstone of any relationship, quickly became a challenge. Touring schedules meant that the couple spent long periods apart, and when they were together, the stress of performing at a global level weighed heavily on them. Björn recalls nights when arguments erupted over trivial matters, fueled not by a lack of love but by exhaustion and frustration. Their personal lives were constantly under the microscope, magnifying small conflicts into public speculation. Compounding the stress was the pressure to maintain a public image. ABBA's record label and management encouraged Björn and Agnetha to appear united and happy, even as cracks began forming behind closed doors. They were expected to exude perfection for interviews, photo shoots, and television performances, creating a disconnect between the couple's reality and the public perception. Björn has described this as a nightmare, admitting that keeping up appearances while struggling privately took an emotional toll on both of them. Despite the difficulties, their shared love for music remained a binding force. They poured energy into their work, channeling personal struggles into performances that resonated with millions around the world. Songs that many fans assumed were purely fictional often reflected the couple's real-life tensions, heartbreaks, and fleeting moments of joy. In hindsight, Björn admits that music became both a sanctuary and a reminder of the pressures they faced, an outlet that was essential for survival, but also a mirror of their struggles. Yet, even amid the turmoil, Björn and Agnetha maintained mutual respect and affection. There were moments of laughter, tenderness, and genuine connection that reminded them why they had fallen in love in the first place. But these moments were fleeting, often overshadowed by the challenges of sustaining a marriage in the spotlight of international fame. The early years of their marriage set the stage for decades of reflection and regret. Björn's candid revelations now provide insight into the human cost of global stardom, a reminder that behind the glitz, even the most adored couples face real struggles. By the mid-1970s, ABBA was no longer just a Swedish sensation. They were a global phenomenon. Hits like Dancing Queen and Mamma Mia catapulted the group into the international spotlight, and with it came unprecedented pressure. Björn Ulvaeus and Agnetha Fältskog, whose personal and professional lives were intertwined, found themselves living in a world few could comprehend. The fame that had promised joy and excitement became a source of stress, tension, and isolation. Touring was relentless. The band moved from city to city, country to country, performing in massive arenas while managing interviews, press conferences, and promotional events. For Björn and Agnetha, the schedule left little room for intimacy or personal reflection. Every private moment was subject to scrutiny, and every disagreement could easily become fodder for the tabloids. Björn has admitted that during these years, the couple rarely had the chance to resolve conflicts calmly. They were always being pulled back into the public eye, forced to smile and perform as if everything were perfect. The emotional toll was enormous. Björn recalls nights when exhaustion turned small arguments into major confrontations. Minor misunderstandings escalated because neither could step away and process their feelings without the weight of fame pressing down on them. They lived under constant observation, and the line between professional and personal life blurred completely. Fans adored their stage chemistry, interpreting their duets as evidence of eternal love, unaware that offstage, the couple was struggling to maintain connection amidst exhaustion and constant travel. Financial and career pressures added another layer of strain. ABBA's management demanded perfection, insisting on flawless performances and polished public appearances. For Björn and Agnetha, there was little room for mistakes, whether in studio recordings or live performances. This relentless pursuit of perfection left little energy for nurturing their marriage, and small frustrations compounded over time. Björn has openly said that the pressure of being an international superstar made him feel trapped at times, unable to prioritize his own emotional needs or the needs of his marriage. Even their creative collaboration, which had once been a source of joy, sometimes became a battleground. Writing and recording songs together brought both connection and conflict. Differences in artistic vision, combined with exhaustion and stress, occasionally led to tension that neither could easily resolve. Yet, the music remained the lifeline that held them together. Songs like "The Winner Takes It All," which would later take on haunting significance, reflected both their talent and the fractures in their relationship. By the late 1970s, it was clear that the marriage, strained by fame and personal struggles, was under immense pressure. Björn's retrospective accounts reveal the human cost of global stardom, a life in which every smile and performance concealed the underlying tension of a marriage being tested to its limits. While fans saw glamour, luxury, and success, Björn and Agnetha experienced fatigue, frustration, and emotional isolation, all under the relentless glare of international fame. The story of ABBA's rise to global prominence is not just one of music and triumph. It is also a tale of two individuals grappling with love, ambition, and the crushing weight of the spotlight. By the early 1980s, the pressures of fame, touring, and relentless public scrutiny had begun to take a devastating toll on Björn Ulvaeus and Agnetha Fältskog's marriage. The love that had once seemed unshakable was slowly eroding under the weight of exhaustion, miscommunication, and the unrelenting demands of ABBA's global success. Despite their efforts to maintain appearances for fans and the media, the cracks in their relationship were becoming impossible to hide. One of the central challenges was the lack of privacy. The couple rarely had time alone, and every disagreement or emotional struggle risked being reported in the press. Small arguments escalated because there was no safe space to resolve them. Björn has admitted that both he and Agnetha often felt trapped, unable to express frustration openly without fear of judgment or scandal. The constant need to perform happiness on stage and in public interviews created a dissonance that neither could reconcile. Financial and professional pressures only added to the tension. ABBA's management demanded perfection, and the couple often found themselves working late into the night, recording songs, rehearsing for tours, or planning promotional appearances. Exhaustion made patience thin, and even minor issues would sometimes erupt into major conflicts. Björn recalls feeling torn between his role as a husband and his responsibilities as a band member, conflict that was impossible to resolve given the demands of fame. Compounding these difficulties were the deep emotional differences between Björn and Agnetha. Björn, methodical and pragmatic, often approached problems with logic, while Agnetha, sensitive and emotionally expressive, sought validation and connection in ways that were difficult to satisfy amid their hectic schedule. This dynamic created repeated misunderstandings and emotional distance, making it harder for them to bridge the growing gap in their marriage. Ultimately, the combination of fame, exhaustion, and misaligned emotional needs led to their separation in 1980. Björn has been candid about the heartbreak and regret that accompanied the breakup. He acknowledges that while ABBA's music thrived during these years, the personal cost was immense. Their divorce was amicable on the surface, but the emotional scars lingered for decades. Björn has described the experience as a painful but necessary turning point, one that allowed both of them to find stability and happiness in their individual lives, even if it came at the cost of their shared dreams. Despite the heartbreak, Björn's reflections on this period reveal a man who has grown to accept both his mistakes and limitations. He has emphasized that the challenges of their marriage were never about a lack of love, but about the extraordinary pressures of fame and circumstance. Even today, he speaks of Agnetha with respect and admiration, acknowledging her talent, resilience, and the bond they shared, however complicated it became. Today, decades after their divorce, Björn Ulvaeus reflects on his marriage to Agnetha Fältskog with a mix of sorrow, understanding, and acceptance. The memories of constant touring, relentless media scrutiny, and personal misunderstandings remain vivid, but he has gained perspective on why their relationship faltered. What once felt like an unbearable nightmare has, over time, become a chapter of life that shaped him as both a man and an artist. Björn openly admits that the pressures of ABBA's global fame created circumstances neither he nor Agnetha could have fully prepared for. "We were two people trying to live normal lives while being anything but normal," he explained in a recent interview. The intense spotlight magnified every argument, every insecurity, and every emotional lapse, leaving little room for reconciliation. While love existed, the overwhelming stress of fame created a distance that even their shared passion for music could not bridge. Despite the pain, Björn emphasizes that his marriage was never devoid of love or respect. He recalls moments of genuine connection, the private laughter backstage, the shared pride in their musical achievements, and the fleeting tenderness during rare moments away from cameras and fans. These memories, bittersweet as they are, remind him of the depth of their bond. But they also highlight how fragile relationships can be when subjected to the relentless machinery of fame. In his reflections, Björn also acknowledges his own role in the struggles. He admits that his focus on work, his insistence on order, and his sometimes emotionally reserved nature contributed to the growing distance between them. For years, he carried guilt over what might have been done differently, and in interviews, he has spoken candidly about the mistakes he made as a husband. This honesty, he believes, is part of healing, not only for himself, but also for the legacy of their shared history. The lessons Björn has drawn from this period extend beyond personal regret. They inform how he approaches life today, valuing privacy, emotional openness, and patience in relationships. He remains close to the other ABBA members, cherishes his family, and has found fulfillment in his creative projects outside the band. Most importantly, he has learned to separate the myth of fame from the reality of personal happiness, recognizing that success in the public eye does not guarantee fulfillment in private life. Björn's revelations serve as a powerful reminder that even the brightest stars experience darkness behind the scenes. The glittering image of ABBA masked very real struggles, and his candid admissions offer fans a rare, humanizing glimpse into the complexities of love, fame, and personal growth. Ultimately, Björn Ulvaeus' reflections underscore the resilience of the human spirit. While his marriage to Agnetha Fältskog ended painfully, he has transformed the experience into insight, empathy, and a renewed appreciation for the fragility of relationships. Fame may have magnified their struggles, but time has allowed him to process, forgive, and finally, accept. In doing so, he proves that even amidst heartbreak and nightmares, there is room for reflection, understanding, and ultimately, peace.